happening. You're trying to figure out ultimately what is.
It's still a mystery as to why it took them. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Primetime Crime Live this morning. It's a beautiful, chilly morning in New York City. It's Wednesday, December 4th. Jarrett, my favorite co-host, how are you?
I'm discombobulated this morning. I don't have my camera. I'm at my home office, so I apologize. But I'm good. How are you?
Do not apologize. You look great. I'm trying this new square kind of setup. How do you feel about this right now?
I feel like small. I think we look different.
Do you think I should change it?
Let's see. How difficult is it for you to change?
It's not difficult to change it. I'm always trying new, I don't know. So this is how we normally are. Do you like that better?
That's better.
Okay. All right. We'll do that. It's more of my home office, which I don't know. It's so boring. My background here. Okay. Taryn agrees. We look small. I changed it. Hey, Pokemon. Okay, so yes, she said much better. All right. I was even thinking about doing the circles too, but I guess that's not a thing. So I just got to tell you guys really quickly. Last night, I think I shared this with you. My son has been having night terrors and sleepwalking, and my husband was out of town the week before, and he went to Israel for work a long time ago, and he brought me back literally a cross with holy water in it. And I have been clutching it because my son looks like he's ready to climb the walls like the Exorcist, and he can't snap out of it. I don't know if you had experience with this. It's really scary. He scares the crap out of me. Last night at like midnight, he was roaming the halls saying, my hat, it's so hard, my hat. And I'm just like, what? Your hat? Yeah, sure, your hat.
Oh my God.
Terrifying.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Your kids never did that?
No, I don't think so. Not that I could remember or found them sleepwalking.
Oh, all right. Well, lucky you. And
they may have, but they didn't sleepwalk into the room.
Oh, well, I mean, and oh God. And the other night, this is even worse. My husband fell asleep early and I thought I heard something, and I went into, my kids share a bedroom, and I went into the bedroom and my son was not in his bed. And I just looked quickly at my daughter and she's sleeping, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm looking all around the apartment, midnight. I'm actually kind of scared too, because he could pop out at any moment. Could not find him. Finally, I go back to their room. He's actually in the corner of my daughter's bed sleeping. I was just like, this is ridiculous. I don't know what to do anymore. So
what does the literature say? Is it just a phase?
Well, I called the pediatrician and she was like, so she said it's a phase. They should be out of this phase by maybe 10. But she said what I can do, and I've done it a couple times and it works, but I always forget, is if he has a time that he's been doing this, which usually it's about 2 hours after I put him to sleep, I can wake him up about 20 minutes before those 2 hours and just sort of jostle him around a little bit, and he'll kind of snap out of it. I mean, yeah, it's whatever.
So that'll break up the rhythm of whatever's kicking that off. That's wild.
Yeah, honestly, I'm very tired. I have a lot of makeup on right now. And like I said, this is my second coffee and I added a shot of espresso in it. So.
I don't have any makeup on, and I messed up shaving my beard on Thanksgiving, so it's totally gone. It's slowly growing back.
Wait,
so I'm in that in-between phase, which I don't like. Anyway.
You look young. When my husband shaves, it's funny. My husband looks 12. I would say you look about 14. So
good. All right.
Yeah, this is so funny to me. When guys shave their beards, they look so young. But all right, I'll stop babbling. Let's start, Jarrett, with the Daniel Penny manslaughter trial, or involuntary manslaughter / negligent homicide trial. The jury is deliberating right now. I had big plans to go down there the other day, but it's freezing out and apparently it's very crowded. So it's almost impossible to get inside that courtroom. I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't know if New Yorkers are going to pull through. Frankly, and I'm sorry if people don't agree with me. I have my reasons. I am a local here, but I do not think that Daniel Penny belongs in prison for 15 years. I don't. That being said, Jordan Neely lost his life, and that is a tragedy. And I believe there's no minimum sentence here, Jared. I don't know if that is a thing. It says 15 years. I did read that. There's no minimum.
So 15 is the max on the manslaughter charge. So look, I've tried manslaughter cases. They're very difficult. And when you introduce the concept of self-defense, extremely difficult. Let me preface what I'm saying by I somewhat envy the people that can come down on either side of this thing. You could not have written, scripted a more difficult case to really assess. The bottom line here is Daniel Penny is not a murderer. They have not charged him as such. It's not a murder case. It is a manslaughter case. What happened, as everybody, I'm sure our viewers and listeners know, is Jordan Neely in May of 23 was riding the subway, the F train, is threatening, acting erratic, extremely threatening, throws down his jacket, says the following things: I'm willing to die. I don't care if I go back to jail. Those are the kind of statements of desperation that it almost appears like he's on a suicidal mission and will be taking people down with him. In an effort to subdue him, Daniel Penny and another passenger basically take him down. Penny puts him in a chokehold. This is very much like, and the fact that Daniel Penny is a trained Marine really puts this in the realm of law enforcement use of force. You're on a continuum here. The fact that Daniel Penny is a Marine is actually working against him. Here's why. Because he has the requisite training. Now, I'm a black belt in martial arts, okay? That will work against me in a situation like this as well, because I am trained in hand-to-hand
know better, right?
Situation. Well, not only should you know better, you are equipped with the knowledge to basically put someone in that kind of a chokehold. You know what kind of restriction it creates: blood restriction, oxygen restriction. The real issue isn't that Daniel Penny restrained Jordan Neely. The issue is that he did it for too long in New York State. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Because why New York State? Because it's in New York, you have a duty to retreat. Okay. And the argument is Jordan Neely on the ground was no longer a threat. Had Daniel Penny released him at that point, he could have decelerated the situation. That's the position of the prosecution. Basically, when he held him for too long and he died, okay, and the argument is he died by asphyxiation, according to the prosecution, that becomes a manslaughter case. And that Daniel Penny did so with a reckless disregard for human life. Now, there is no perfect situation like this, okay? I don't believe Daniel Penny in any way intended to kill Jordan Neely. And I think recklessness is a stretch. Recklessness versus negligence are two different things. If there's anything here, it's negligence. He knew better and kept going, okay? That may be negligence, it's not recklessness. And that's not a political statement, that's a statement on the law, okay?
Let me ask you this, though. So there were times and there were witnesses, and I believe this might have been on video, I can't recall, but where Jordan Neely would have a bout of energy, really flailing and fighting back, and that's when he would hold harder. He may have translated that as, if I let this guy go, he's going to go apeshit again.
Well, those are split-second decisions. So the point you're making, so Neely made his final voluntary movement, according to the experts, at 2:28 p.m. They're saying that Penny held him Penny held him for another 51 seconds. Okay? So in that 51 seconds, a restraint, the argument is, became manslaughter. That's really what they're saying. And Penny, if you watch the video, I mean, there's no better evidence in this case than there's actual video from the scene. Witnesses at the time they're experiencing the situation are giving statements. Okay? If you watch the video, you see that last movement of Jordan Neely. everything Daniel Penny does while you're watching it feels, to me, like it doesn't cross into that criminal realm. And the argument was they were saying he was still breathing when he let him go.
Okay, I'm so glad you brought that up. That is my biggest question here. And I want to get to ICU as well, because she made a comment about basically the racial bias in this, where the defense had actually said to the prosecution, you are treating this trial like it's a hate crime, and there are no charges stating that this was a hate crime, and this is not a racial thing here, and you guys are making it racial. And that's why they had asked for a mistrial, which was denied. But the judge said something like, okay, I see what you're saying. They kind of warned the prosecution to step back a little bit. Obviously no mistrial. But back to what you just said, he wasn't DOA. He was not, he did not pass away until he got to the hospital. So he was alive when.
So let's talk about, there's two issues you raised there. Number one, ICU, ironically, the closing statement of the prosecution was Daniel Penny didn't see Jordan Neely's humanity. How about that? So it's a play on what the prosecution is alleging is some kind of I don't know if it's an allegation of systemic racism or an allegation on the part of Daniel Penny. Here's the thing, okay? If you're going to talk about Jordan Neely's race, talk about the race of the innocent bystanders who Penny believed he was protecting were people of color. The fact that he was assisted by another individual who was a person of color. So if we're talking race and they want to talk that Daniel Penny is a white male and that Jordan is a black male, then talk about the race of everyone he believed he was protecting in there. And to me, this is not, this negates that racial claim. I understand, and people want to turn this into people like Jordan Neely who battle, and like they'll talk, like there's so much discussion on the fact that Jordan Neely was arrested 42 times. He was a paranoid schizophrenic. Here's the thing. Daniel Penny didn't know any of that. That has no bearing on the situation. All you can focus on is what was known to Daniel Penny and the people in fear in that F train at that moment. They were not reading Jordan Neely's record. They believed, based on the manner in which Neely was conducting himself, they were in danger. You don't sit and say, excuse me, sir, are you bipolar? Excuse me, sir, are you schizophrenic? Let me tell you something. Schizophrenic people hurt people. They kill people. Maybe it's not entirely their fault due to a condition. But you don't have the time to have a conversation and de-escalate that situation. So the fact that these folks were in fear, the fact that Daniel Penny acted in that split second, okay, I don't see the racial situation. I don't see this as a racially motivated crime. I believe it when Penny says that, and I believe those witnesses when they were interviewed in the moments after it.
But let me tell you this, it's Manhattan. I live here. Everything is racial in Manhattan, and it pisses me off because it's like, this wouldn't be a race thing, but you guys make it a race thing. And another thing that really bothers me about this entire situation is the DA, Alvin Bragg. He decides to really villainize Daniel Penny when there are criminals every day released. I mean, it's just like, the stabbing that we had a week or so ago, the guy that stabbed 3 people, he was arrested like 8 times on different violent crimes. He was literally living in Bellevue. It's just, it blows my mind what he decides is important. And I just feel like he's pandering to the people in Manhattan that want this to be a racially motivated crime when it's not. I think also it's confusing because the witnesses, and these are people that were on the same train, but the witnesses that the prosecution brought forth, that the defense brought forth, they had very starkly different accounts. You had a handful of people who said, I'm scared, I'm so glad he was here. And then the prosecution, and listen, the guy they brought on, he was homeless. Let me just put that out there. He's the one that said, Daniel Penny's a murderer. He called him a murderer on the stand. That's also not right. And the jury had to hear that. Now, one other thing I'll say is that jury selection was incredibly difficult in this case. And I don't know if this jury is comprised of regular subway riders that know the horrors and the just the things that go down on the subway every day. And if they don't know that, that's a problem. If they don't see what's going on, and how if you have a kid on the subway and you want to shield your kid from some of this nonsense and this really scary stuff, I mean, it's real. It definitely is real. And the reason they were having such a hard time is because, subway, I mean, and this is not me like being a jerk, but this is literally what they stated at the voir dire. They just said subway riders are generally hourly employees, and hourly employees, their pay, I guess, in missing work because of the trial is only covered 3 days. So the judge is like, sorry, like we can't have those people. And the defense is like, well, if we don't have subway riders, how is this fair? How is this a fair trial? So I think it's going to be interesting. And I don't know. I don't think this has been a completely fair trial. And another thing I want to add here, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but New York Magazine put out, and I don't know if you saw this, a really detailed article into Jordan Neely's life. He had a very, very hard life. And his mother was murdered by his stepdad, I guess, her boyfriend.
When he was 14 years old, right? When Jordan was 14?
Yeah. And his stepdad, or mom's boyfriend, was pro se in the trial, and Jordan Neely was a witness. And he had to be cross-examined by the man that killed his mother. So his mom and dad were, they split very early on. His dad was in his life when he was 5, and then, he didn't really see him for a while. And then he moved in with his dad at 18. His dad's a musician. And the article stated that his dad demanded half of his earnings from being a subway performer, and Jordan moved out and went to a men's shelter. So he basically would have rather lived in a men's shelter over his father. And now you've got his father in every single article. And I have no doubt his dad loved his son, right? I have no doubt.
Right.
So tragic and heartbreaking. But you've got this dad, the prosecution puts his dad right in the front row, where he's, crying, he's looking away dramatically. And I'm just like, dude, where were you all that time when he was having all these problems, when his mother was murdered? Where were you? And
so he was in the foster system from 14 to 18. His mother was strangled.
Yeah.
And he took her body out. His mother's boyfriend took her body out in a suitcase, which is awful. And then from 14 to 18, like, there's no doubt, like, Jordan Neely's life was tragic. He was mentally infirmed. He had a tragic life. All of this could be true. He is a victim of the city.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
And that could be true. He could have a tragic life. He could still be a legitimate threat to the riders on the F train. He could still hurt people, which in his background he has. And Daniel Penny could also not have been motivated by race. There are crimes motivated by race.
Right.
Not naive, not saying it. I don't see any evidence of that. And the prosecution has put no evidence other than the whiff of it in the closing argument that Daniel Penny in any way was motivated by the race of Jordan Neely. Whether Jordan Neely was white, black, Hispanic, Asian, if he got on that subway, acted that way, I believe, based on what I have seen, Daniel Penny would have done what he have done regardless. That is so morally, ethically versus legal, I see it that way. Legal, it's another thing. You get into this continuum, this continuum of use of force. When is deadly force authorized? In New York, when your life is in danger. The question becomes, in that short period of time, was Jordan Neely still a threat to the lives of Daniel Penny and the other riders? You may not like that fact. You may not think he was, but that's the question. And our show, you will get the assessment of the law. That's why this case is there. Now, whether or not Alvin Bragg or his office was politically motivated, come on. I mean, I should not know. The name Alvin Bragg should not fall from my tongue so easily.
I know.
Okay?
You're in Pennsylvania.
Right.
Exactly. Why do you know this dipshit? Because he's
Well,
a dipshit, and it was racially and politically motivated. I mean, this is the guy, Alvin Bragg, charged, what's his name? The bodega owner who literally got attacked with a knife, robbed, and he shot the guy and killed him, and he wants to charge him. He literally
so what is
charged
the
him with murder.
message? Do you know what kind of a chilling effect that has on people?
Oh,
Are we supposed to take and what I mean is, when are people supposed to protect themselves? When it's too late?
Yep.
I'm sorry. Like, I'm in this business, okay? I look at this, and not just Daniel Penny. I look at Bragg's prosecution of Trump and the bodega owner and his failure to prosecute other crimes and his leniency in other crimes. And I say, this is not someone who appears to be a law and order DA.
No, not even a little bit. And just really quick, back to just Jordan Neely and his tragic life and his family and everything regarding that. I mean, what I guess gets to me is that that his dad is most likely filing a civil suit, wrongful death suit, trying to get money, where it's like, reading this where he tried to take half of Jordan's earnings, and now he's most likely going to try to profit off his death, where it's like, you weren't even a part of his life. Isn't that convenient for you? And I'll probably get shit for this saying that, but it's like, I'm sorry. I'm sure you're sad. I'm sure you loved your child and you loved your son, and this is horrible for you. Of course, it's heartbreaking. But do you see? You could have been a part of his life. You could have redirected his life a little bit. This article, which was very well researched, and it was a very progressive liberal publication, it said that Jordan Neely did well in Rikers. That seemed to be when he thrived because he had order. He had less chaos. He was held accountable, and his schedule
He had structure.
Tragic.
He had structure. And the other thing is this: I've encountered criminals, defendants who want to go back to jail.
Right.
So he made a statement when he got on that subway, allegedly, I've been in Rikers. I want to go. I don't care about jail. Was he actually acting out in an effort to go back? There was a warrant out for his arrest when this happened. And again, that was not in the mind of Daniel Penny, but it's certainly relevant in the bigger conversation about Jordan Neely.
Yeah.
And someone who doesn't care about going to jail, doesn't care about dying, is a threat to everyone on that train. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. If I'm in a situation like that, okay, I'm not, and my children are there, or someone is there, and I have the opportunity to protect them when there's a threat, I'm going to act. Okay. Yeah. Or I believe I would act. I hope I would act. Okay. Yeah. Here's the other thing, though. The part of the problem is, and we haven't hit on this, Jordan Neely did not physically act out. He was looming. He was threatening. Sure. That is another thing that may claw back the level of restraint that Daniel Penny, again, on the legal end, deployed on Jordan Neely. Yeah. I mean, so it comes down to, is Daniel Penny a hero or is he a racist? Now, or is it somewhere in between? I think it's somewhere in between. I believe he was motivated to protect the people and himself. Yes. I believe that. Does that make him, everybody wants to oversimplify things, put them in these archetypes, all right? The world, particularly the world of prosecution, is very complicated. Right. Very complicated. Right. I did watch Daniel Penny's interviews. He did not testify, but he was interviewed in a professional setting.
Those are rough, though. When he kind of said that's what the defense was trying to get this not admissible, but he said something like he was just a homeless guy or something like that, which caused them to say he had no regard for his life. However, at that moment, Daniel Penny didn't know that he had died. I think his demeanor would have been much different if he was dead, right? He didn't know he died.
That's a pretty good leap. Again, it's becoming about that moral judgment. again, I don't know what a jury's going to do with this. I don't know where they're going to go. It's not as open and shut as people think. I know
No.
people have very strong opinions. I respect their opinions. I
Yeah.
see arguments on both sides. You know, I respect like, look, I have seen people like Jordan Neely in my life. And I could tell you that it's tragic in its own right, even
Yeah.
before he was killed.
Yeah.
Okay. And beyond this, the fact that he may be the subject of a civil lawsuit and it's about money and those kind of things, it's like his life he continues to kind of be re-victimized, you know?
I know, exactly. And one last thing I'll say that just pisses me off. It's because I live here and I'm just so sick of the bullshit. Excuse my language, but like Al Sharpton spoke at Jordan Neely's funeral, and I want to be like, hey, bro, where are you every day? Why are you not at Bellevue helping these men? Why are you not at Rikers, right? Speaking to these men?
Right.
Why do you just seem to pop up when it's convenient for you and when you can stir the pot and create more divisiveness between our entire city? It's just like, it's like, how do people not see this? This is not Al Sharpton giving a shit about Jordan Neely. This is Al Sharpton pushing his own agenda and again creating more divisiveness. It's such utter bullshit, and I'm just it drives me crazy because if Daniel Penny is found not guilty, I mean, I think that's, for me, that's the right thing. I do feel like maybe something should happen because a life was lost, but I don't know what that is.
It won't change anybody's opinion. If he's found guilty, they're going to say it's a progressive DA, it's New York. If he's acquitted, they're going to say the system's flawed, systematically racist, and
yeah.
basically lined up against marginalized people like Jordan Neely, who are in the, you know, the mental health, homeless realm, and that's what happens. And Al Sharpton and people like that, I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
this is an opportunity for people like this to have yet another soapbox and tell us how to think. Like, I don't need to be told how to think by people like that. By people who want to take the tragedy of Jordan Neely and use it as an opportunity to be on their soapbox. You know, that's what bothers me the most. I think it's narcissism.
Yeah, and I've actually said it. Hawk Newsome, who heads up BLM, I don't know why I was very triggered one day, and this was right after Jordan Neely died, and he was protesting and everything, and I'm just like, I just got sick of it, and I saw something on his Instagram story, and I wrote back, and I was like, you don't give a shit about him. Where were you helping him? Whatever. Like, you're just doing this to be divisive. He literally actually wrote back to me, but it was the strangest thing. You know what he said to me? He said, instead of like addressing what I said, he said, I'm the worst dressed person he's ever seen. And then this is Hawk Newsome, the leader of BLM. He went on my Instagram and literally wrote like laughing faces at some of the pictures I had with like me wearing a certain outfit. Is that not the strangest, most bizarre thing? And first of all,
odd. And again, I respect the guy's right to do what he's doing, but you know,
weird.
It's just, speaking of racism and mental health and systematic racism, Sarah Boone.
Wait, hold on. Last question about this really quick. If it's a hung jury, do you think they'll retry that? I was thinking about this too, Taryn, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yes, because again, as we say in our old case of Karen Reed, the prosecution believes their case. They believe what they're saying. So they will see it through.
Yeah.
You know, for political reasons, for reasons, some of them are, again, I believe some of these folks are motivated by what they believe is the right thing. And they may have been the victim of a racial, you know, racism in their lives and see everything through that lens. So,
no, 100%. And then,
there's people that straight up believe it was a manslaughter case. So, you know, they would retry it.
So one last thing about Al Sharpton, and I think I've just not liked him since this moment. When I was 21 years old, I was an intern at CBS 2, and something had happened in the Bronx. I think it was a young girl was of color was kidnapped or something, and there was this big press conference, and so everybody was out there, and Al Sharpton was set to speak, and they didn't have one of those press boxes. So they were like, "Is there an intern here?" And I was like, "Me," but I was in a skirt and like heels, whatever. They literally gave me all of the microphones from every station. They had me kneel on the gravel, like on the concrete gravel, right? And hold up the microphones. And the shot was just above my hand, so you couldn't see it. So I went like this. I was on my knees holding microphones in front of Al Sharpton. Guys, literally for like 6 minutes, I wanted to die. I was sweating. I was like, I mean, whatever. I almost fell over after that. Do you know that he basically did all but kick dirt in my eyes when he was finished? Like, he did not say thank you. He didn't make a joke like, "Oh, wow, that's good workout." But anyway, I'm just like, after that, I was like, "You're so rude," like so rude. But anyway, we should move on to Sarah Boone because, I mean, I'm speechless, Jarrett. I'm literally speechless about this. I want to play just a little snippet. I'll play it, I'll speed it up. But when I was watching this, I had it on in the background. I mean, I was jumping up and down. I was screaming. I was literally like, I'm sorry, what is happening right now? How is her lawyer okay with this? All right. All right,
I tried to watch it at a higher speed.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Oh, really? Okay, well, I put it on 1.5.
Wait, she talks really fast to begin with.
Well, let me see how it is.
This is unlike a trial, so you're allowed to speak in a narrative form, as well as I understand you have taken some notes or written a letter that you
have about things, and I didn't really know how to put it on paper. I didn't know how much I could say.
I think I want to skip the first part because she literally talks in circles and it's the weirdest thing. Makes literally zero sense. I just want to kind of get through that and get to the part where it's all about her. And I'm like, wait, this is supposed to be you being sorry. Okay, got it. I mean, yeah.
Hacker. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
And when you heal, you move forward. My goal begins with George Torres, and every time he slapped me, kicked, punched, spit on, raped, stabbed, choked, laughed at, pushed, pulled, dragged, whipped, tripped, stole from, lied, terrorized, threatened, humiliated, forced, degraded, made me cry. Every time he tried to end me, defeat, or destroy. I forgive George for beating me senseless, for trying to sleep because I had to go to work or my son's field trip the next day, for ruining my deceased family's heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes, my son's furniture, destroying the television we watched together, for wrecking our townhome by breaking windows, punching holes in the walls and doors, ramming his entire body into glass doors, kicking in my front and back door over and over and over, for breaking or removing the locks from all of the doors and sometimes the knobs altogether, so I had nowhere to feel safe, including the sacred space of my son's room where he beat me bloody on his bed. For terrorizing and threatening my blind and deaf dogs by leaving the gate open I built to keep them safe, telling me he hoped I'd find their bloated dead body in the pond or scrape their remains off of the pavement, for kicking them off of the bed and throwing across the room because they were trying to protect me.
Yeah.
For threatening to make me unrecognizable to my son by breaking all of the bones in my face, like his brother Moses did to him after he kept seeing all of the bruises from George beating me, like all of the times their father beat their mother. For all of the drunken rages and fist fights with so many neighbors when wandering into their apartments during hunting expeditions after I had escaped.
Wow, she's
For drowning
sorry.
me in liquor and wine because I didn't want to drink, causing me to urinate on myself, then butting the end of the bottle in my face, giving me 2 black eyes and a bloody nose. For making me experience what it is to be sodomized. Threatening to kill my friends and the neighbors when they checked on me to make sure I was alive and in one piece. For threatening to burn down our townhome and set my car on fire because I got a job.
Right.
For holding me hostage on weekends, my son was supposed to come over by keeping my keys around his neck, my phone in his crotch, and a butcher knife stuck in the middle of the table as a warning not to ask anything or try to leave. For stabbing me in the leg and not letting me call 911 or an ambulance or seek help, where I nearly bled to death until I concocted a lie to save him from being arrested. For destroying my phone with a hammer because my son called. for me experiencing ever being arrested. And after today,
Okay, we'll just stop there for now, just because there's a lot going on, and I mean, like, there is a part where she talks about him like physically dragging her down the stairs. I'm just like, he was 100 pounds soaking wet. He never dragged you. I believe
if
all women except Sarah Boone. Believe all women, not her.
if you watch that in its entirety, it's almost like a journey into her mind, because she takes you through what was her defense,
God.
was that she was a battered woman. Then she goes through the fact that she still loves George, and she apologizes to his family. That was the strangest apology. It's like, let me run you over, back over your body, then apologize to your family, back over your body again, and move on. And it went on. And then her lawyer, he keeps asking her these open-ended narrative questions. At some point, I would have been like, there's no way you have anything else, right?
Yeah,
But he kept
right.
going. I mean, it goes on, and she was sentenced to life. She remains defiant. And like, I've been in those courtrooms too. I've watched young people, much younger than Sarah Boone, be remorseful after conviction, defiant after conviction, and the law is the law. These people are immediately sentenced to life without the chance of parole. And it's pretty compelling to be in there knowing that someone's life and their right to be a free person is gone forever. I mean, Sarah Boone didn't fool anybody. We saw how mentally challenged she was. She was not stupid, as we have said. This is not a stupid woman. This is a woman who is disturbed. She may very well have been in an abusive relationship. I think a lot of that stuff is made up. But it is not documented at all in the investigation. She just took it as another opportunity to take another shot at
But
George.
what can you advise to this? I think this is the biggest question we all have. Why would he be okay with this?
Karen, that's a good question. So it's post-conviction, right? So she probably insisted. She's been through more lawyers than any defendant I have one defendant who was through more. But she was through, it was like wheel of lawyers, right? So there's no telling this woman anything. She wanted to read that statement. And what's in her statement? It's still consistent with her version of events. I was abused. That's why I did what I did. That's why I was afraid to let you out of the suitcase. And you died because I thought you were going to beat me. And so there's no downside to their case for her reading that.
I mean, but don't you feel like that, right? I feel like listen, I don't know if the judge was had his mind made up before she read that.
Oh, I think he did.
You think he did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This judge, he was so tired of her and her bullshit. He was, and her. Here's the other thing. There's no telling her anything. She wanted to do it. Her lawyer really can't stop her at that.
Yeah.
Which, here's the other thing, which is telling. And to answer Taryn's question, they were open-ended narrative questions. There's a reason why lawyers do that, because lawyers can't elicit perjury. They can ask an open-ended question. They're not going to lead somebody down that road. That's a tactic. That is a tactic. So not to say that her lawyer knew definitively she was lying, but it suggests to me he was walking a pretty tight rope there. And again, it's post-conviction. It's consistent with her theme of the case. She wanted her opportunity to have her say, and she got it. And she was rewarded a life sentence as a result.
Well, okay. So this is what I'm saying. Like, I just felt like maybe you're right. Maybe his mind was made up. I was just thinking to myself, maybe if she took a little bit of responsibility, just a tiny little bit, he would have been like, okay, maybe I'll do, 30, whatever. I mean, and okay, wait, so is she eligible for parole, or
No, I don't think so. I think her sentence was life. So I'll
it
double
was
check.
life.
Let's do this. I'll double check. I know it's a life sentence. I don't know. There are life sentences that it's life with an opportunity for parole. I will check. So I don't want to
Yeah, but in
misspeak.
Florida, I thought Florida is like no parole.
Yeah,
But
like in
it's
Pennsylvania, it's life without parole.
oh, it
We can
is
double
in
check and we'll put it in
Pennsylvania.
the comment. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're done.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody is agreeing with that. Yeah. Life is life in Florida,
Yeah. Oh,
not in
good.
the
Thank
state of
you.
Florida. Yeah. No parole. That's what I thought, which is even crazier that they're like, hey, we'll give you 15 years with time served. You'll be out in basically 12. And she's like, nope, I'm crazy. I want the attention of a trial. Or I'm so narcissistic, there's no way a jury will convict me. What? Yeah, that is.
Again, I would say this: crazy, but not insane, which
Yeah,
is the distinction.
right.
That's my professional
Right.
opinion.
Right. And you know what's so I thought about this yesterday, and I know Jarrett, your favorite. I'm gonna say just Karen Reed really quick, but I was going through just some photos, and I don't know where I was looking, maybe the Facebook group or something, but I saw like some of Karen Reed's family members and I don't know if Karen was in these photos, but they had somebody at maybe a fundraiser that was dressed up as Judge Canoni with like a blonde wig on, a short bob, and like, the whatever, a robe. And I'm thinking to myself, what if you do get convicted and this is the judge that's going to sentence you? I mean, they've got to see this, right? The judge has to be privy to what's going on.
The
I would
judges,
think.
let me tell
Like,
you, judges are people. I know they need to be
yeah,
above that kind of emotion, but look, I know a lot of judges. I represent some judges. Like,
yeah,
they're people, okay? And that just says, beyond whether or not the judge would be offended, it shows the lack of respect or the lack of understanding of the situation she's in. The judge didn't bring this case, the
yeah,
prosecution did. The judge
right.
is just presiding over you may not like the way Judge Bev runs her courtroom, but that level of disrespect is so arrogant and it's very telling. Like, to me, if I'm a judge and I have a defendant acting that way, I will find reasons to put on the record why they're, being punished in a certain fashion. But I can't say that I would let that go. Or it wouldn't be in my mind. It's offensive.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
I don't know if I don't think Karen was like a part of this or anything, but it was a fundraiser or something. Like she
Yeah.
most likely had nothing to do with it, but it's just like her supporters are doing this.
Well,
And
I
so I
would
was like,
hope
oh
if
God.
Karen had nothing to do with it, she wouldn't have it held against her. But like that
Right.
kind of attitude, I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think, there's a level of
Oh, wait, hold on, Taryn. Sorry. Okay, so I'm not crazy. Auntie Deb, he has a YouTube and TikTok and has been doing the videos since the last trial. It's a parody and it's great. Okay,
okay.
got it.
Oh, like the
Okay.
dancing Lance Ito,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Jay Leno used to have.
So is she okay? So I'm not crazy. So this guy has been taking pictures with people, and I'm just like, dude, I was just thinking to myself, like, this, even though Karen's not a part of it, but it's just not a good look because if she is, it's horrible. I don't think she ran John O'Keefe over, but
Right.
if a jury finds her guilty and Bev, Canoni is going to sentence her, I'm like, oh boy, this is not a good
Yeah,
look.
well, I would hope she wouldn't
Yeah.
hold it against her, but we'll see. Because
Right.
she didn't occasion that. This appears to be somebody just spoofing the judge. And hey, you're a public figure. That happens.
Yeah. And no, it's true. Like it is disrespectful. Again, I just would not want, if I saw that, I think, and I was the defendant, I might be like, hey, can you just not do that? Because it's,
Again, you don't want any of that you don't want Karen Reed, if she's convicted, to catch shrapnel. But she's got bigger issues than somebody dressing up like the judge if she's convicted. I promise you that.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well,
big.
yeah, totally. Well, Jared, I know you have to run. So we made this short and sweet this morning, but
Well,
be
let's
back.
do a live or something later this week if something comes up. All right,
Yes.
I'm around.
If something comes up, and I think again we are on verdict watch for Daniel Penny. I feel like, I don't know, if it's not today or tomorrow, I feel like we might be leaning towards a hung jury. So yeah,
I think so. We'll see.
I do. I really think so. Well, Jarrett, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you so much to everybody watching and listening. We appreciate you very, very much. I'm trying to, I don't think we're going to do our outro video today. It's not working. So I will just
All right.
end
Well,
it.
thank you, everybody.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Bye.